Today we'll be speaking to Nishith Anand, who's currently studying architecture at the University of Melbourne. So Nishith, to start off, could you tell us more about the University of Melbourne?
Yeah. So University of Melbourne, the reason I applied to the University of Melbourne is primarily because of their ranking, obviously. In terms of the world ranking, they're doing pretty well. They're in the top, I think, 20 in world rankings. And within Australia, as far as I've researched, it was the best university in Australia. And so like when I was looking at universities to apply for, I kind of looked more at like the country that I wanted to apply for, and then narrowed down to the universities that I wanted to apply for. And Australia was one of the destinations which I really wanted to go because of the career that I wanted to pursue, which is in architecture. And yeah, so, and with Australia being a very immigrant friendly country in a way, I felt like it'd be better to pursue my education in Australia itself and with the University of Melbourne.
Okay, that's great to hear. I've also heard that Australia is really known to be student friendly. So
Yeah.
could you tell us the courses you've been taking at University of Melbourne?
Yeah. So I'm currently doing the Bachelor of Design, and I'm doing a double major in architecture and construction. So you have the choice of doing, for instance, if you're doing a Bachelor of Design, you can do a single major in architecture or a single major in construction. Or like me, you can take a double major, which essentially means that when you're going to your master's, you can do a master's in construction as well. So like or architecture if you're doing a double major option. So and also like generally with taking a single major in architecture, there's a lot of structural aspects, like in terms of just the physics, like physics of the building or something like that. That's usually not really stressed or given that much of an importance, because architecture being primarily a design course, you're focusing more on the design aspects of this field. And therefore I wanted to choose I did a double major to also learn that aspect of the industry, so that I could have a better kind of like an overall understanding of the field. So one thing that's great about the University of Melbourne is that you have this option called breadth subjects. So a breadth subject, so basically if you're taking a single major, you'll have the option of taking a breadth subject, one breadth subject per semester. And these subjects are taken, these subjects are those that are outside your faculty, meaning that, for instance, if I'm doing a bachelor in design, I can take a subject, something completely not related to architecture, something like, for instance, I could take microbiology, something like that, so that I could be an architect who has that knowledge in microbiology. It kind of gives you that option to find a different passion, and if you're interested in some other kind of thing, you can kind of try out those interests as well.
That's great to hear, because even my university offers breadth requirements, which allow students to choose subjects outside their main curriculum. So could you give us some advice to students who are looking to apply for architecture, and to students who are also looking to mainly apply to Australia? What advice would you have for them?
Yeah. So in terms of general advice for those who are applying to architecture, I would say that so like one thing that I kind of always heard when I was applying for architecture, which people who are thinking of applying to architecture would have also probably heard, is that no matter where you apply, which country you apply, architecture is notorious for being one of the most difficult degrees to undertake, primarily because of the fact that you have intense kind of submission and intense deadlines. So within a short period of time, you kind of have to produce like a piece of art in, like, let's say, a 2-week period. And one of the greatest difficulties in that is to know when to stop. And also, like, the architecture schools are difficult also because of the fact that after your submission, you go through these things called critique sessions, where basically the professors and the rest of the class kind of rip your projects into pieces, basically, essentially. So they kind of give you that criticism that you do need. And this so people just need to be aware of the kind of like what an architecture school actually feels like. Someone who as a student, you need to be someone who's open to criticism and who's willing to spend that time and effort throughout the week to work on a project. So yeah, so as a general advice, like knowing that what you're getting into would be is a first step, I would say, into being prepared for architecture school. And also they do a good job usually around architecture schools do a good job into kind of giving you a taster when you're applying for architecture school, is when they give you assessment tasks, usually like apart from just your predicted scores or something. They'll give you a task and they'll give you a very strict deadline. So that they'll give you a prompt and they'll give you like 10 days or a week or something like that, depending on the university, where you have to produce something and you have to present it to your interviewer. And and mind you, this also happens when you're studying school. So if you're someone like me or Sean who did IB, this will happen parallel to your IAs and all the internal submissions in school as well in your senior year. So yeah, there's just time management is a very essential skill for applying to architecture in general. And to apply to Australia, it's a very straightforward process from what I experienced. It's basically you just need to I would suggest just shortlisting the universities. Just choose the top 5 universities in Australia. Look for other countries as well, but Australia, if you're looking at primary in Australia, choose the top 5 universities. And there's a specific I can't exactly remember. There's something called the League of 8 or something like that. There's like the 8 universities in Australia, which are all like, basically it's kind of like the Ivy League equivalent to Australia. So it'd be great if you aim towards those universities if you're applying to Australia, and just go through their entry requirements, because architecture, again, it's like they have very specific requirements that they need. For instance, beginning from the subjects that you need to take in IB or something like that. So it's better you start early. And also, I went through an agency. I went through IDP for my visa processing and everything. So that was it was a bit of hand holding, which they could help you with in terms of the visa processing. And the rest of the process was very straightforward, and from my experience. And yeah, pretty much that's it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much for all your tips, and I wish you all the very best.
Yeah, you too, Sean. Thank you.